Yeah, well, in the early days, we used to make wise-ass remarks. And Warren would say, we buy a business that an idiot could manage because sooner or later an idiot will. And we did buy some businesses like that in the early days, and they were widely available. Of course, we'd prefer to do that. But the world has gotten harder, and we had to learn new and more powerful ways of operating. A business like Precision Castparts requires a very superior management that's going to stay superior for a long time. And we gradually have done more and more and more of that, and it's simply amazing how well it works. I think to some extent we've gotten almost as good at picking the superior managers as we were in the old days of picking the no-brainer businesses.
Yeah, we would love to find, we won't be able to find them because they're very rare birds, but we would love to find another 3 or 4 of a similar type to Precision Castparts, where they forever are going to be producing something where quality is enormously important, where the customers depend very heavily on them, when there's contracts that extend over many years, and where people don't simply just take the low bid in order to get this gadget of one sort or another. It's very important that you have somebody there that has enormous skill running the business, and their reputation among aircraft manufacturers is absolutely unparalleled. I was the trustee of a college that saw the endowment go from $8 million to over $1 billion, and I didn't see the tuition come down, and I didn't see the number of students go up.
Nothing went up, except the professors' salaries.
Yeah, from 8 million to $1 billion. I mean, and very, very decent people running the place. But when you read the figures on endowment of the big schools, and some of them have really gotten up into big numbers, the main objective of the people running the endowment is to have the endowment grow larger. And that will be ever thus. That is the way humans operate. You have any more comments on that, Charlie? You've seen a lot.
I've made all the enemies I can afford at the moment.
Okay. That's never slowed them down in the past.
I think we're doing way more than our share of shifting to renewable energy, and we're charging way lower energy prices to our utility customers than other people. If the whole rest of the world were behaving the way we are, it would be a much better world. I will say this about the subject, though, and that is that I think that the people who worry about climate change as the major trouble of Earth don't have my view. I think that I like all this shifting to renewables, but I have a different reason. I want to conserve the hydrocarbons, because eventually I think we're going to use every drop, humanity, for chemical feedstocks. And so I'm in their camp, but I got a different reason.
One thing you might find kind of interesting, Nebraska's not done much with wind power, and maybe 2 miles from where we're sitting, right across the river, people are buying their electricity cheaper in Council Bluffs, right across the river, than they are in Omaha. And yet Omaha, Nebraska is entirely a public power state. So there's no stockholders who have to have any earnings. The bonds are issued on a tax-exempt basis, and yet electricity is considerably cheaper right across the river. And the wind blowing doesn't just start at the Missouri River. I mean, it comes across Nebraska, and that wind could be captured. And so far, it really hasn't. And the real irony is that because our electricity is so much cheaper in Iowa, you have these massive server farms of people like Google. I mean, it's become a tech haven for these operations that just gobble up electricity. And Iowa has gotten plant after plant after plant and job after job after job, and increased property tax, gotten more property tax revenues. And that's being done. The Google server is probably 7 or 8 miles from here. And it's located in Iowa because we have cheap wind-generated electricity, and it's creating jobs. It's fascinating, but Nebraska has prided itself on public power. It was originated back, I believe, in the 30s when George Norris was a very powerful senator here, and it's been a source of pride. But lately, it's been a source of cost too. Mark Donegan, who runs Precision Castparts, is an extraordinary manager. We've seen Charlie and I have seen a lot of managers over the years, and I would almost rank Mark as one of a kind. He is doing extremely important work in terms of primarily making aircraft parts. I would say that there's certainly no disadvantages to him to be working as and for that company to be a subsidiary of Berkshire and not be a public company. And I think he would say, and I think Charlie and I would agree with him, that over time there could be some significant advantages. For one thing, he can spend 100% of his time now on figuring out better things to do with aircraft engines. And it was always his first love to be thinking about that, and he did spend most of his time, but he also had to spend some time, explaining quarterly earnings to analysts and perhaps negotiating bank lines and that sort of thing. So his time, like all of our managers, can be spent exactly on what makes the most sense to them in their business. Mark does not have to come ever to Omaha to put on some show for me in terms of justifying $1 billion acquisition or plant investment. He doesn't have to waste his time on anything that isn't productive. And running a public company, you do waste your time on quite a bit of stuff that isn't productive. So I would say we've taken the main asset of Precision Cast and made him, in this case, even more valuable to the company. In terms of acquisitions, Precision's always made a number of them, but as being part of Berkshire, there's really no limitations on what can be done. So there again, his canvas has been broadened, enlarged with the acquisition by Berkshire. I see no downside whatsoever. If he needs capital, I've got an 800 number, and he wasn't paying much of a dividend before, but he doesn't have to pay any dividend now. And Precision Cash will do better under Berkshire than it would have independently, although it would have done very, very well independently.